Hello and welcome back. This is Amir Lahijy live from Los Angeles. This is this evening and good evening, a part of Togetherness Media. In this evening, we are going to talk with Dr. Foojan Zeine. She's licensed marriage family therapist and clinical psychologist. Hello and welcome, Dr. Zeine.
Hello, it's so nice to be with you and everyone who's with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And I like you are so interested about vulnerability. And every time when you're talking about vulnerability, honestly, you touch my heart. It's very beautiful talk, and really like to talk about that again. So let's see, what's the definition of vulnerability?
Vulnerability has kind of two definitions side by side. One aspect of vulnerability is obviously, as it's stated in the dictionaries, in a way how you are vulnerable in somebody attacking you, or you're in a space where it feels like you might be powerless
Mm-hmm.
against someone wanting to harm you. The other side of vulnerability, which it's got a good rap, as we call it, it's the state of being open, bringing your guards down, and allowing who you are inside to show up
Mm-hmm.
outside.
Right.
And it takes a lot of strength, actually, for someone to have that level of inner strength to be able to know that they can open the windows of who they are to the world. If we are this way, can we put ourselves in a position that we could get harmed? Of course. But usually, when we have the inner strength, we also know how to contain ourselves and how to set boundaries for people who are attempting to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you look at a physical boundaries, some people could create 8 feet walls, and then they could put iron gate on them and all of that. Or,
Right.
that when we're in a safe place, in safe neighborhoods, as you see, the grass is green, the doors and windows are open. Half the time, people don't even kind of like lock their doors because they feel safe. And
Mm-hmm.
that safety, which we create in our own sense, allows us to also open the doors and the windows to our soul, to our emotions, to our thoughts, and allow others in.
Right, right. So, what are the boundaries in relationship around vulnerability?
When we are in a relationship, when we look at the different types of relationships, such
Mm.
as, if you are in intimate, are you talking about intimate
Intimate,
relationship like
yes,
marriages and stuff? Okay.
intimate
All
relationship,
right. All right.
exactly.
In order to be intimate with someone, to be that close with someone, we've got to allow somebody to come in. And
Mm-hmm.
in order to have them in, I have to create the kind of a safety we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that I will feel safe enough to share my thoughts with the other person and my emotions, even raw emotions, to share with them, to let them know how I feel about myself, how I feel about them. If I get upset, if I feel shame, if I feel anger, if I feel powerless, if I feel joy and love, and I feel the intensity of my love for them, to be able to share it without reservation, because knowing that I can open myself up and I can create safety in that way. Um, Usually, a lot of people think that if they are showing all of their emotion, that they can get hurt, or for example, if they're showing that they're sad or scared, that their partner will take advantage of this. Usually, when we feel unsafe, we close up.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we're always, if our partner is creating the unsafeness, or is it that our own assumption is creating the unsafeness? And then how can we set up the structure where I can ask for a particular listening from my partner to say, I'm really sad right now and I need your support. And can you be here with me, listening to me, and give me your support? So that's how you create the structure around and give it to your partner and allow the partner to just listen while you open your heart and share with them. When we allow ourselves to share in that way, whether these are emotions of what we might call uncomfortable emotions or comfortable and joyous emotions, that's where we actually become close. We get intellectual compatibility is exciting, it's interesting, it brings us closer. But emotional compatibility and safety and sharing is what brings us and stays close and creates the safety for us, creates being in love, allows us to want to stay with someone and share. You know, when we talk about who's your best friend, usually everybody says the person that I can tell all my secrets to and I know it's
Exactly.
safe. And that's the element that we really want in our intimate relationship. And you can't really do that if you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable with someone. So that's what's important in an intimate relationship. I think another aspect of this, when we allow ourselves to be that vulnerable with each other, then it also adds to the intimacy, and then it adds to the sexual intimacy, and you know how two people are actually together, like emotionally, which lends itself to being physically close in that way, because there's no guards, and when you don't
Mm-hmm.
have guards in front of each other, then you move closer and closer together. So the aspect of partnership, companionship, mateship becomes real. Like you could really
Yes.
tangibly feel it.
So
Not that we are
beautiful.
in the two teams that are opposite of each other, and but it's the closeness of being together and you know, going through path of life together.
So beautiful, profound, good. Now we understand uh, intimacy and feeling secure, trust, and also communication is helping to open up, right?
I can't hear you very well. Can you say that
Okay,
again?
I said well, we learned trust, security, communication is helping to be open up and be vulnerable, right?
We need to create trust in
Mm-hmm.
order to be able to be vulnerable. With that
Amazing.
trust, we create safety, and
Mm-hmm.
then the doors of vulnerability opens. Because if I can't trust that my mate is going to have the best of who I am in mind, and
Mm-hmm.
that is going to keep me safe and wants the best for me, um, I'm not going to put myself in that position or vulnerable place with them, because I know I'm going to be harmed. And then if I'm hurt by that person, I'm not going to bring out a lot of the information that is inside of me to be able to feel close. I will always be on alert. So, in order to create trust, I can be very clear in what creates trust for me. If we agree on some path, some behavior, some things that we're together, some commitment that we both agree, and then if I keep my commitment and agreement, and if my mate keeps their agreement and commitment,
Mm-hmm.
that builds trust, because
Right.
I can count on you, and time has shown me that I can count on you.
Right.
And if there were times that we didn't create the agreement, that we're both adult enough to come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't keep up the agreement um, due to these matters. And I'm sorry about that. And I will go back to my commitment and keep it. And when we clean up, when we mess up, we all mess up. We clean up immediately and go back into the commitment and you know, what we promised with each other, and restore that trust again. And if we need to negotiate on those boundaries, if it doesn't work for us, then we negotiate. You know, we don't do the kind of like a passive aggressive game of, I'm going to tell you I'm going to do it, but I really don't want to do it. So I'm just going to kind of like not do it and then justify for it. Really breaks the trust.
Right.
So if we agree, if I can't do what I said I renegotiate with you. So I create that trust. That comes with a lot of great communication, to be able to be clear in what it is that I want, share it with my mate, and ask for my needs, If they can give it to me, awesome. And if not, then negotiate for it. For me to listen to what my mates' needs are, also to give them the gift of whatever it is that they need from me, and be there for them and build the trust consistently.
Mm-hmm.
In this manner, then, as I said, the safety gets created. And then I can be vulnerable, which means I can come from work and share some of the stuff that has been happening for me,
Mm-hmm.
and ask their opinion about it and find out what it is that they could share with me from their own perspective that could add to what my needs are. You know, for example, I had a certain interview this morning with a particular institute, and the person was talking to me in a particular way that I felt really disrespected. So, after the conversation, I called my husband and I said, "Can I share something with you? Because I've had a really rough day, and I had an experience that I've never had before." So he says, "Sure," and I started sharing that this is my experience, and he just listened, and he said, "I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and I know that this was hard, and you're not used to this type of conversation." He gave me some pointers, and I said, "Is it me, or is it that I'm being too sensitive right now, or is the conversation like, I'm kind of like doing reality check?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said that that's a little bit of a norm out there, and that it was new for me, and I was handling it like I was taking it very hard.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good feedback, but it had to do, and then I had to kind of like learn to toughen up a bit. So
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting where, Amir, it was more like I had the space of that I could share vulnerably,
Mm-hmm.
that I had someone to call and say, "This is what's going on with me. And let me do a reality check here. Is it me? Am I being too sensitive? And
Mm-hmm.
how can I renegotiate this? And how can I be there?" So that's the type of the essence of the safety that is there, where someone can be vulnerable, which helps them to gain their strength again.
Right.
Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes, amazing, amazing. So, uh, what are the main type of vulnerability? We have a different type
Well,
of vulnerability, right?
if you're talking about what are the places that we might be vulnerable, that we have to actually protect ourselves and watch for it, definitely it could be physically vulnerable. So we have to be aware that we can be harmed physically, and how are
Mm-hmm.
the ways for us to keep ourselves safe.
Mm-hmm.
There's economical, financial vulnerability. There's a lot of fraudulence out there. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of behaviors that we might do that might actually put us in a vulnerable position. Um, Mismanagement of finances is going to put us in a lot of vulnerable positions.
Right, right.
So those are the places to know that where is it that I'm managing my finances. The spatial one and the physical one we were talking about, where is it? Where would I put myself to create vulnerable situations? I know that a lot of people look at females being out there in the middle of the night. A lot of times they say, well, it's most vulnerable. It's more vulnerable for both men and women, but it is more vulnerable for women to be out there in the middle of the night. And I think people have some fears. It is more vulnerable if you if you drive 100 miles an hour, you put yourself in a physical vulnerability. So to be harmed in that way. And then obviously it's emotional vulnerability, where in interactions with others, how do we contain ourselves, and how do we communicate? How do we set boundaries for people so
Mm-hmm.
that they know where they can push and where they cannot push? Where is it that it's okay for them to talk to us in a particular way or share with us in a particular way, and it's not? And how do we set boundaries for people? So these are the different types of knowing how we can be harmed, and then how to protect ourselves. I think when it comes to emotional vulnerability, The same way as a physical vulnerability, you sit in the car,
Mm-hmm.
and you buy cars that are a little bit heftier, so you're safe. When you
Mm-hmm.
sit on a bike, you put a helmet. You put like a
Right.
physical boundary so that if you
Mm-hmm.
do fall, you don't get harmed.
Harmed.
It's the same thing with your emotional vulnerability. You set a structure
Mm-hmm.
for that so that you keep yourself safe, even if there are people who are coming in and pushing on those boundaries. And how do you set the boundaries for people to protect yourself? And and then how to create the safety so you can open yourself again. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's sad for a lot of people uh, when they are feeling hurt and harmed once,
Mm-hmm.
that they close and shut down completely. And I'm sure you've heard of people who, they've at the teenage years, they've had heartaches. People left, people ghosted them, people had an affair. Something happened at the beginning of their relationships, and they vowed, like, I'm never opening my heart again. I'm never going to get close to anybody. Or some people got betrayed by their friends, and they vowed, like, I'm never going to get close to any other human being. I'm never going to be vulnerable again. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that is sad for someone to close themselves up like that. And it usually causes a lot of anxiety and depression when we shut ourselves up, because we're human beings. We need connections with each other. We
Mm-hmm.
strive through those connections. And if we don't create those connections, then it creates anxiety and depression for us, loneliness for us.
Right, right. So before my last question, we have a couple questions in our app. We're receiving, live chat questions, and one of the question is interesting. I like to share this one with all of you guys. So, how should I be? How should I be vulnerable and at the same time set the boundaries?
I think that we have two parts of us
Mm-hmm.
acting at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Um, so one part is doing the protective act
Mm-hmm.
through setting the boundary, which is seeing what is necessary at this point. Um, Letting people know, like what I said as an example, that if I'm sad and if I need to share and I really want listening, then I would say to the person, I really need your listening right now. And if they're doing their own spiel, it's like, um, I'm really needing a listening, and it's okay if you can't listen right now. Please let me know that you're not able to, and I can honor it. And then I won't share right now, because the only way that I'm going to share is if I know that you're there to listen. So it's like
Right.
almost like a protective side of us, like an adult part of us, comes in and
Mm-hmm.
sets up the boundary. Um,
Are you talking
and
about the
then when I
intimate?
feel sick,
Are you talking about the
so
intimate relationship, right? When you are intimate, in the relationship, and still you need to, because she's talking about, with her husband. So, uh, how is possible this one?
well,
How?
even if you're talking, yeah, I'm talking about intimate relationships.
Right.
So sometimes when I want to talk,
Uh
the
huh.
person, my husband, might not necessarily be at the same level that I am. Like they're at work,
Okay.
they're busy, they can't stand it,
I
or
got you. I got you.
they're not in the mood, and I want to share, and they're like, yeah, 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 or why don't you just do this? I'm like
Mm-hmm.
starting to talk, and it's like, why are you upset? Why are you mad? She just did this. Don't worry about it. Like, get over it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming to fix it, while I'm really just wanting to be heard and
Mm-hmm.
go, oh, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the part where you set yourself up and give from all of your heart to be listened to and heard and cuddled and taken care of. And somebody in front of you, not with a bad intention, with a really good intention, they're like, come on, get up, get up. You're like, stop, enough.
Right.
So at that moment, that part of us is like, ooh, okay, like I cannot be vulnerable right now. Like I cannot share right now because I gotta shut up and like be done with it. So yes, a lot of this actually happens within our the systems that we are in a relationship, where we actually expect intimacy and expect a good listening. Like, I might not expect that from my boss or somebody who's a stranger, but usually these things we get upset because we expect it from somebody who's very close, and that we want to be vulnerable, and then the space is not there. Or we say something and they suddenly judge us. And then I have to bring the boundary, like the adult coming back and saying, hold on. I'm hearing you judging me right now. And can you hold that, can you take care of that and just listen to me without a judgment? So that's how you create the boundary. Like you have one hand that is gone this delicate flower coming in, and then as something coming to take it away, this hand is coming and says, hold on. There's a delicateness here that you got to handle.
That's a beautiful example. It's so good. Thank you so much.
Because sometimes what we do, Amir, is the delicate part shows up, and then some harshness comes in, and then what we do is we shut down the delicateness, and then we'll bring our thong out. It's like, coming back out. Right? Yeah. Yes. And then I was like, we shut this down and go, and then we go after fighting. And I see that constantly in couples when they come to me. And then the point is, okay, can I get the aggression out? Can I get the adults to come in and set appropriate boundaries so it's safe enough, and then the delicateness can come back up again.
Amazing. So, for closing this segment in 2 minutes, what do you want to say for vulnerability?
I think that it's amazing for all of us to take care and protect that delicate part of us, which we call part of us, which is vulnerable, and not keep anybody else accountable for it, or not ask others to take care of it, but for us to take care of it and set up the structure where we could create the safety, where we could open up. Please don't shut yourself down, because I think that the beauty of human being and being together, it's that love, it's that caring, it's the closeness. So when we close that part of us, we become a stone, and it's really not a fun place to live, being the stone. So that would be truly my suggestion and invitation for everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we are going to talk about non-vulnerability, invulnerability, right? In next segment. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere. We are going to, have a quick break, and we're coming back and continue our conversation and discuss about vulnerability and non-vulnerability with Dr. Foojan Zeine. Stay in touch and stay close. Don't go anywhere.